The medical bay of the Galactic Council's flagship Harmony buzzed with nervous energy. Dr. Sarah Chan moved between the examination tables with practiced efficiency, her prosthetic left leg clicking softly against the metal floor with each step. The sound had become as natural to her as breathing over the past 3 years, ever since the mining accident on Europa had claimed her limb below the knee. Today marked her first official assignment as the human representative to the Galactic Medical Council. After months of preparation and political maneuvering by Earth's delegation, she finally had the chance to prove that human medicine deserved respect among the stars. The other council members had been skeptical, to put it mildly. Primitive, they called human healing methods. Barbaric, others whispered when they thought she couldn't hear. Sarah checked her reflection in the polished surface of a medical cabinet. Her dark hair was pulled back in a professional bun, and her white coat bore the insignia of both Earth's Medical Corps and the Galactic Council. She looked ready, even if her stomach churned with anticipation. The bay doors hissed open, and her first patient arrived. Sarah's breath caught in her throat as she took in the massive form of a Kethtar warrior. The reptilian alien stood nearly 3 meters tall, his scaled hide a deep emerald green that caught the overhead lights. Muscular arms ended in hands tipped with razor-sharp claws, each one easily the length of Sarah's finger. His serpentine head swayed slightly as golden eyes fixed on her with unmistakable disdain. "I am Commander Vexthal of the Kethtar Dominion," the alien announced, his voice a low rumble that seemed to vibrate through the deck plating. "I require medical attention for a combat injury." Sarah gestured to the largest examination table. "Please, Commander, have a seat and tell me what happened." Vexthal's laugh was a harsh, grating sound that made Sarah's skin crawl. "You cannot be serious, little human. Where is the real doctor?" "I am the real doctor," Sarah replied evenly, pulling up his medical file on her tablet. "I'm Dr. Chun, and I'll be handling your case today." The Kethtar's eyes narrowed as they swept over her form, lingering on her prosthetic leg. A broken creature attempting to heal others? How deliciously ironic. He flexed his clawed hand, and Sarah noticed that the middle claw on his right hand was missing, leaving only a scarred stub. "Perhaps you can relate to being incomplete." Sarah bit back her first response and focused on her training. She'd dealt with difficult patients before, though admittedly none quite this large or hostile. "I can see you sustained an injury to your right hand. When did this occur?" 3 days ago, during a territorial dispute with the Zephyrian fleet," Vexthal said, settling onto the examination table with obvious reluctance. "A lucky shot from one of their plasma rifles caught my claw. The medics aboard my vessel attempted to regenerate it, but their efforts have proven inadequate." Sarah pulled on her examination gloves and activated the medical scanner. "May I take a look?" Vexthal extended his hand with theatrical reluctance. "By all means, doctor. Though I suspect your primitive human methods will prove as useless as your own missing limb." The barb at home, but Sarah refused to let it show. She'd heard worse during her recovery, from people who should have known better. She focused on the injury instead. The stump where his claw had been was inflamed and showed signs of infection. Worse, she could see that the attempted regeneration had gone wrong, leaving twisted scar tissue that would prevent proper healing. "I can see why the regeneration failed," Sarah said, adjusting her scanner settings. "There's significant tissue damage and what appears to be a resistant bacterial infection. The scar tissue will need to be removed before any proper healing can begin." Vexthal snorted. "Scar tissue removal? That is your grand solution?" Even a Zephyrian hatchling could have suggested such basic treatment. "Sometimes the simplest solutions are the most effective," Sarah replied, pulling up imaging data on her screen. "Your people's regeneration technology is impressive, but it has limitations. When infection sets in, the body's natural healing responses can actually work against the artificial regeneration process." "Spare me the lecture, human. Just tell me how long before I regain my claw." Sarah studied the scans more carefully, noting the extent of the damage. With conventional regeneration, given the current state of infection and scarring, probably 6 to 8 weeks, assuming we can get the infection under control first. Unacceptable, Vexthul growled. I have duties to attend to. My fleet cannot be without its commander for such an extended period. I understand your concerns, but rushing the process will only... You understand nothing. Vexthul's voice boomed through the medical bay. You are a broken human playing at medicine while your own body falls apart piece by piece. His golden eyes glittered with cruel amusement. Tell me, doctor, how many limbs have you lost to your own medical incompetence? Sarah felt heat rise in her cheeks, but she kept her voice steady. My injury occurred in a mining accident, not due to medical incompetence. And it doesn't affect my ability to treat patients. Doesn't it? Vexthul leaned forward, his massive form looming over her. How can a creature that cannot even keep itself whole presume to heal others? Perhaps if you had been more competent, you would still be complete. The words stung because they echoed doubts Sarah had wrestled with during her darkest recovery days. But those days had taught her something valuable about resilience, about adapting and overcoming. She looked up at the towering alien warrior and felt something shift inside her. Commander, with respect, there's something you should understand about human medicine, Sarah said, her voice gaining confidence. We don't see disability as weakness. We see it as adaptation. Vexthul's laugh was harsh and mocking. Adaptation? You mean acceptance of failure? No, I mean innovation. Sarah moved to her supply cabinet and pulled out several items. You see, when humans lose something, we don't just mourn it. We figure out how to do better. She returned to his side with a small device that looked like a modified scanner. This is something I developed during my own recovery. It's a tissue mapper that can identify optimal neural pathways for prosthetic integration. But it has other applications. More human toys, Vexthul scoffed, but Sarah noticed his eyes tracking the device with interest. This toy can map the exact neural pathways in your damaged tissue and identify the precise points where regeneration is being blocked. Instead of general tissue regrowth, we can target specific cellular matrices and bypass the damaged areas entirely. She activated the device, and a holographic display appeared showing the internal structure of Vexthul's injured hand in remarkable detail. Even the arrogant Kethtar commander leaned forward to get a better look. The red areas show active infection, Sarah explained, pointing to the display. The yellow indicates scar tissue interference, and the blue shows healthy neural pathways that are still intact. See how the scar tissue is creating a barrier here. Despite himself, Vexthul was clearly intrigued. Your device shows remarkable detail. Our medical scanners do not achieve this level of specificity. That's because our scanners were designed with prosthetic integration in mind, Sarah said. When you're trying to connect artificial components to living tissue, you need to know exactly how every nerve and blood vessel is positioned. The applications for regenerative medicine are obvious once you think about it. She began preparing a treatment tray, her movements confident and practiced. I can remove the scar tissue with microsurgical precision, target the infection with localized antimicrobial treatments, and then guide the regeneration process using neural pathway mapping. The procedure would take about 4 hours, and you'd have a fully functional claw within 10 days. Vexthul was quiet for a long moment, studying the holographic display. 10 days instead of 8 weeks. Possibly less. The key is working with your body's natural systems instead of trying to override them. And you learned this because of your own condition? Sarah touched her prosthetic leg briefly. I learned this because humans don't give up. When we lose something, we don't just try to get it back. We try to make it better. For the first time since entering the medical bay, Vexthul looked at her without contempt. You are suggesting that your disability made you a better doctor. I'm suggesting that overcoming challenges makes anyone stronger. The question is whether you trust me enough to let me help you. The Kethtar commander stared at the holographic display for several more seconds, then looked back at Sarah. Something in his golden eyes had changed. Very well, Dr. Chun. Proceed with your treatment. As Sarah began preparing for the procedure, she couldn't help but feel that this moment represented more than just treating an injured alien. This was her chance to show the galaxy that human medicine wasn't primitive or barbaric. It was innovative, adaptive, and born from the fundamental human refusal to accept defeat. The real test, however, was just beginning. The procedure began in tense silence. Sarah had administered a local anesthetic that worked surprisingly well on Kethtar physiology, though Commander Vexthal remained alert and watchful throughout. His golden eyes tracked every movement she made, and Sarah could feel the weight of his scrutiny like a physical presence. "The scar tissue is more extensive than the initial scans showed," Sarah murmured, adjusting her microsurgical tools. The tissue mapper projected a real-time display of the work area, showing layers of damaged tissue in brilliant detail. But that actually works in our favor. More scar tissue means more neural pathways that could be restored once it's properly removed. Vexthal watched the display with growing fascination. "Your technology shows individual nerve fibers. How is this possible?" "Necessity," Sarah replied, carefully excising a section of twisted scar tissue. When you're connecting a prosthetic to living tissue, you need to know exactly which nerves do what. Miss by a millimeter, and you might give someone a foot that tries to wiggle their toes when they want to flex their ankle. "You speak from experience." Sarah glanced up at him briefly. 3 different prosthetic fittings before we got it right. Each time, we learned something new about neural mapping and tissue integration. That's how human medicine advances. We learn from every challenge, every setback. She returned her attention to the work, using a combination of laser surgery and microsonic tools to break down the scar tissue without damaging healthy nerves. The tissue mapper guided every movement, showing safe pathways through the damaged area like a navigator plotting a course through an asteroid field. "There," Sarah said after nearly an hour of painstaking work. "That's the worst of it cleared away. Now we can see what we're really working with." The holographic display updated, showing the injury site with remarkable clarity. Where before there had been a chaotic mass of scar tissue and infection, now clean pathways were visible leading to the area where Vexthal's claw should regenerate. "Impressive," Vexthal admitted grudgingly. "But removal was the easy part, was it not? My people's healers could have done as much given time." "Could they have done this?" Sarah activated a different device, one that looked like a cross between a spray gun and a computer tablet. "This is a targeted cellular scaffolding system. Instead of hoping your body regenerates properly, we're going to give it a blueprint to follow." She began spraying what appeared to be a thin, almost invisible mist over the injury site. The tissue mapper showed how the microscopic particles settled into precise patterns, creating a framework that matched the exact cellular structure of a healthy Kethtar claw. "The scaffolding is made from biocompatible polymers that your body will absorb as new tissue grows," Sarah explained. "But it's programmed with the exact molecular structure of your original claw, down to the cellular level. Your regeneration system won't have to guess what to build. It'll have a perfect template to follow." Vexthal leaned forward, studying the display. "How did you obtain such detailed information about Kethtar physiology?" Sarah smiled for the first time since the procedure began. "I spent 6 months studying every medical database the Council would give me access to. When you're the first human to join the Galactic Medical Council, you don't show up unprepared. And if you had been wrong about our physiology, then I would have learned from the mistake and done better next time. That's what humans do, we adapt." The next phase of treatment involved introducing carefully calibrated growth factors and stem cell activators, each one targeted to specific layers of tissue development. Sarah worked with the precision of a master artist, layering treatments like colors on a canvas to create the optimal environment for regeneration. "The infection was actually more helpful than harmful," she said as she worked. "Your immune system's response created inflammation, which increased blood flow to the area. With the scar tissue removed and proper cellular guidance in place, that increased circulation will accelerate the healing process significantly." "You're saying my body was trying to heal itself correctly all along?" "In a way, yes. The problem was that previous treatments were fighting against your natural healing responses instead of working with them. It's like trying to swim upstream instead of using the current to your advantage. As the procedure continued, Sarah noticed that Vexthol's attitude was gradually shifting. The open hostility was gone, replaced by what seemed to be genuine professional interest. He asked technical questions about the equipment and methods, and Sarah found herself explaining human medical philosophy as much as specific techniques. Human medicine is built on the idea that the body wants to heal itself, she said, applying the final layer of cellular scaffolding. Our job isn't to force healing. It's to remove obstacles and provide the right environment for natural processes to work. A philosophy born from your species' frequent injuries, no doubt, Vexthal observed, though his tone lacked its earlier mockery. Partly, Sarah admitted. Humans are fragile compared to most galactic species. We break easily, we heal slowly, and we wear out fast. But that's taught us something valuable about resilience. She activated a final device that bathed the injury site in a soft, pulsing light. Photobiostimulation therapy. It encourages cellular activity and helps integrate the scaffolding with your natural tissue. The light frequency is calibrated specifically for Kethtar metabolism. More human innovation born from weakness. Sarah paused in her work and looked directly at him. Commander, may I ask you something? Vexthal nodded. When you lost that claw in battle, what was your first thought? The Kethtar warrior was quiet for a moment. That I had been careless. That the injury would mark me as diminished. And now? Now, I am curious to see if your methods will make me stronger than before. Sarah smiled and returned to the final adjustments. That's the difference between human and Kethtar thinking, I suppose. You see injury as diminishment. We see it as an opportunity for improvement. Improvement how? The scaffolding I've installed isn't just a template for regeneration. It's actually superior to your original tissue in several ways. More flexible, more resistant to damage, better integrated with your nervous system. When your claw regrows, it'll be stronger and more sensitive than it was before. Vexthal stared at her. You're saying that my injury will make me better than I was? I'm saying that how you respond to injury is what defines you. You can let it diminish you, or you can use it as a catalyst for growth. The procedure was nearly complete now. Sarah made final adjustments to the cellular growth parameters and activated the regeneration field. On the tissue mapper's display, they could already see the first signs of new cellular activity as Vexthal's body began responding to the treatment. The initial growth should be visible within 6 hours, Sarah said, cleaning up her instruments. Full regeneration in 8 to 10 days, assuming your body responds as well as the projections suggest. Vexthal examined his hand, though there was nothing visible yet except the faint shimmer of the cellular scaffolding. Dr. Chun, I owe you an apology. That's not necessary, Commander. It is. His golden eyes met hers directly. I came here believing that human medicine was primitive because humans themselves are primitive. I was incorrect. Sarah began putting away her equipment. We're different species with different strengths and weaknesses. What matters is how we use those differences to help each other. Indeed, Vexthal stood up, flexing his injured hand experimentally. I find myself wondering what other innovations humans might contribute to galactic medicine. I guess we'll find out. This was just my first day. As Vexthal prepared to leave, he paused at the door of the medical bay. Dr. Chun, I have one final question. Yes. That device you used for tissue mapping, you said you developed it during your own recovery? Sarah nodded. Was your prosthetic fitted using the same technology? An earlier version, yes. Why do you ask? Vexthal was quiet for a long moment. I have served alongside many warriors who have sustained injuries in battle. Most struggle with prosthetics that never quite feel natural, never quite respond as they should. Your device could change that. The applications go far beyond just medical treatment, Sarah agreed. Neural interface technology, enhanced prosthetics, even augmented capabilities for healthy individuals. But those are conversations for another time. Yes, Vexthal said thoughtfully. Another time. After he left, Sarah allowed herself a moment to breathe. The procedure had gone better than she'd dared hope, but she knew word would spread quickly through the ship. Other species would be watching to see if the human doctor's methods were truly superior or just lucky coincidences. She looked down at her own prosthetic leg, hidden beneath her medical scrubs. Vexthal had tried to use it as a weapon against her, a symbol of human weakness and medical failure. Instead, it had become a foundation for proving that humans belonged among the galaxy's medical elite. The irony wasn't lost on her. Sometimes what appeared to be weakness was actually strength in disguise. And sometimes losing something was the first step toward gaining something better. 3 days after treating Commander Vexthal, Sarah's reputation aboard the Harmony had undergone a dramatic transformation. Word had spread through the ship's corridors like wildfire. The human doctor had not only successfully treated a Kethtar warrior, but had promised results far beyond what conventional galactic medicine could achieve. Sarah was reviewing patient files in her office when her door chimed. "Come in," she called, expecting another routine appointment. Instead, she found herself face-to-face with 3 aliens she'd never seen before. The first was a tall, graceful being with translucent blue skin and multiple arms, a Zephyrian diplomat based on the ornate robes. The second appeared to be from the crystalline Zerith collective, her body composed of living mineral that caught and refracted the office lights. The third was smaller, furry, with large eyes and what appeared to be natural bioelectric patterns running along her skin. Definitely an NYTH engineer. "Dr. Chun," the Zephyrian said, her voice melodic and precise. "I am Ambassador THY. These are Engineer ZYXtra of the Collective and Dr. Piptel of the NYTH Medical Corps. We come seeking your professional opinion." Sarah gestured to the chairs around her desk. "Please have a seat. What can I do for you?" "We have heard remarkable things about your treatment of Commander Vexthal," Sarah continued. "Is it true that you promised full regeneration in 10 days instead of the usual 8 weeks? The projection was 8 to 10 days, yes. We're currently on day 3, and the initial growth is ahead of schedule." The crystalline being, ZYXtra, leaned forward. Her voice had a musical quality, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "The commander has been vocal about his experience. He claims your methods are revolutionary." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "Commander Vexthal has been praising human medicine? That's unexpected." "More than praising," Dr. Piptel said, her large eyes blinking rapidly. "He has been demanding that his entire crew receive medical examinations from you. He says human medicine sees things that ours misses. I'm flattered, but I should point out that my methods aren't necessarily better than yours, just different. Human medicine has developed along unique lines because of our species' particular challenges." Tichwa Sisera exchanged glances with the others. "Dr. Chun, we would like to understand these challenges better. Commander Vexthal mentioned that your innovations stem from personal experience with injury." Sarah touched her prosthetic leg unconsciously. "In part, yes. Humans are relatively fragile compared to most galactic species. We've had to develop medical techniques that work with limited regenerative capability and frequent mechanical failures." "Mechanical failures?" ZYXtra's crystalline features shifted in what might have been confusion. "You speak of your bodies as machines. In a way, they are. Hearts that can stop working, joints that wear out, organs that fail over time. Human medicine has always been about maintaining and repairing a system that's constantly breaking down." Dr. Piptel's bioelectric patterns brightened. "But that must have led to innovations in preventive care and early intervention." "Exactly. When you know something is going to break eventually, you learn to spot problems early and fix them before they become critical." Sarah pulled up her medical scanner and activated the holographic display. "For example, this tissue mapper I used on Commander Vexthal. It was originally designed to detect microscopic damage in human joints before they became painful or debilitating. The applications for regenerative medicine were a secondary discovery." The 3 aliens studied the device with obvious fascination. Tichwa Sisera ran one of her delicate hands over its surface. "The resolution is extraordinary. Our medical scanners showed general tissue health, but This shows individual cellular structures. When you're trying to attach a prosthetic limb, general tissue health isn't enough. You need to know exactly which nerve connect, where which blood vessels supply, what area, and how healthy each individual component is. Show us, HFY said suddenly. Demonstrate your diagnostic capabilities. Sarah hesitated. I'm not sure that's appropriate without a proper medical examination request. I volunteer, Dr. Piptel said immediately. I've been experiencing some discomfort in my left arm for several weeks. Our medical team says it is normal aging, but perhaps your different perspective might reveal something they missed. Sarah looked at the small, furry alien. The NYTH were known for their bioelectric capabilities, but she'd never examined one before. I need to calibrate the scanner for NYTH physiology first. It might take some time to get accurate readings. We have time, Teacher said. Sarah spent the next hour working with Dr. Piptel to calibrate her equipment for NYTH biology. It was fascinating work. The NYTH's bioelectric system was far more complex than human neural networks, with multiple parallel pathways that could reroute around damaged areas automatically. Remarkable, Sarah murmured as the tissue mapper began producing clear images. Your nervous system has built-in redundancy that human systems completely lack. It is a survival adaptation, Dr. Piptel explained. NYTH evolved on a world with frequent electromagnetic storms. We needed nervous systems that could function even with significant electrical interference. Sarah studied the readings more carefully, noting unusual patterns in the bioelectric flow. Dr. Piptel, has anyone ever told you that you have a particularly high-capacity neural network? High capacity? What do you mean? Your brain is processing significantly more information than normal NYTH baseline suggests. See these readings here? Sarah pointed to the display. These neural pathways are hyperactive, almost like they're trying to handle more data than they were designed for. The room grew quiet. HFY leaned forward, her crystalline body refracting the light from the scanner. What would cause such a condition? Sarah continued her examination, using different scanning frequencies to build a complete picture. The discomfort in your arm isn't from aging, Dr. Piptel. It's from neural overflow. Your brain is generating more bioelectric activity than your nervous system can properly distribute. Is that dangerous? Dr. Piptel asked, her bioelectric patterns flickering with what Sarah was beginning to recognize as anxiety. Not dangerous, no, but it explains your symptoms. Sarah adjusted the scanner to focus on the affected arm. The excess neural activity is causing muscle tension and joint inflammation. Traditional NYTH medicine would treat the symptoms, but the real solution is to address the source. And how would human medicine address this source? HFY, Sarah asked. Sarah smiled. We give you something to do with all that extra brain power. She pulled up another device from her medical kit, a neural interface headband that she'd used during her own recovery to help train her brain to work with her prosthetic. This is a cognitive load distributor. It was originally designed to help humans adapt to prosthetic limbs by giving their brains additional processing tasks. But I think it could help redistribute your excess neural activity into useful channels. Dr. Piptel examined the device with professional interest. You want me to wear a human brain enhancement device? I want to help your brain find a productive outlet for its excess capacity. The neural overflow causing your arm pain could be redirected into enhanced cognitive abilities, pattern recognition, or even improved bioelectric control. Sarah activated the device and showed them how it worked. The headband monitors neural activity and provides additional cognitive challenges when it detects and uses capacity. For humans, it prevents the disorientation that comes from suddenly having to control artificial limbs. For you, it might provide an outlet for your brain's excess activity. This is extraordinary, HFY said. You're treating the symptom by enhancing the cause rather than suppressing it. Human medicine learned long ago that sometimes what looks like a problem is actually potential waiting to be unlocked. Dr. Piptel put on the neural interface, and within minutes, her bioelectric patterns began to stabilize. The chaotic overflow that had been causing her arm pain started channeling into the device's cognitive enhancement protocols. "I can feel the difference already," she said, wonder in her voice. "The tension in my arm is decreasing, but more than that, I can think more clearly than I have in months." The device will need to be calibrated specifically for NYTH neural architecture, Sarah explained. "But the principle should work. Your brain isn't malfunctioning. It's just more capable than your body was designed to handle. We need to give it appropriate challenges." Teacher Sarah stood up, her multiple arms moving in what Sarah was learning to recognize as excitement among her species. "Dr. Chun, what you have shown us today represents a fundamental shift in medical philosophy. Instead of treating exceptional ability as pathology, you enhance the individual to match their potential." "It's not revolutionary," Sarah said. "It's just practical. When humans developed prosthetics, we learned that the problem wasn't usually with the artificial limb. It was with helping the brain adapt to new capabilities. The same principle applies to any situation where someone's abilities exceed their body's current capacity to express them." ZY-Extra's crystalline features shifted into what might have been a smile. "I begin to understand why Commander Vexthal speaks so highly of human innovation. You see adaptation where others see limitation." "We see potential," Sarah corrected. "Humans have had to adapt to limitations for our entire evolutionary history. We've learned that every limitation is also an opportunity to develop something new." As the three aliens prepare to leave, Dr. Piptel turned back one final time. "Dr. Chun, I must ask, your own prosthetic limb, is it also an example of turning limitation into enhancement?" Sarah considered the question carefully. "My prosthetic allows me to do things I couldn't do with my original leg. It has sensors that can detect pressure and temperature more precisely than human skin. It doesn't get tired, and it gives me perfect balance in variable gravity. In some ways, losing my leg led to gaining capabilities I never would have had otherwise." "So your injury made you more capable?" "My response to injury made me more capable. The injury itself was just an opportunity." After they left, Sarah sat back in her chair and reflected on the day's events. When she'd first arrived on the Harmony, the other medical personnel had seen her prosthetic as a mark of failure, proof that human medicine was inadequate. Now, that same prosthetic was becoming a symbol of human innovation and adaptability. She thought about Commander Vexthal and his missing claw, about Dr. Piptel and her excess neural capacity, about all the ways that apparent weaknesses could become unexpected strengths. Maybe that was the real gift humans brought to galactic medicine. Not superior technology or advanced techniques, but a different way of thinking about problems and possibilities. Her communicator chimed with an incoming message from Commander Vexthal. The message was brief, but significant. Day 3 progress exceeds all projections. Request full crew medical evaluation using human protocols. Will recommend human medical integration to Kethtar High Command. Sarah smiled and began preparing for what promised to be a very busy few days ahead. The Galactic Medical Council's emergency session was unlike anything Sarah had ever witnessed. The massive conference chamber aboard the Harmony was filled with representatives from dozens of species, their varied forms creating a kaleidoscope of colors, shapes, and sizes. At the center of the chamber stood a holographic projection system that was currently displaying medical data from the past week's treatments. Sarah sat in the human delegation section, trying to remain calm despite the weight of hundreds of alien eyes upon her. Beside her, Ambassador Rodriguez offered an encouraging nod. "You've got this, Doctor. Just remember, they called this meeting because of your successes, not your failures." The council speaker, a tall Etherian with flowing tentacles instead of hair, called the session to order. "We are gathered here today to discuss unprecedented developments in medical treatment protocols. Dr. Sarah Chun of the Human Medical Corps has achieved results that challenge our fundamental understanding of healing and regeneration." A murmur rippled through the assembled delegates. Sarah caught sight of Commander Vexthal in the Kethtar section, his newly regenerated claw gleaming under the chamber lights. Next to him sat Dr. Piptel, who was now wearing a modified version of the neural interface device that had solved her bioelectric overflow issues. The evidence speaks for itself, the speaker continued. Commander Vexthal's claw regenerated in 7 days instead of the projected 8 weeks. Dr. Piptel's chronic neural condition was not merely treated, but transformed into enhanced cognitive capacity. 3 other patients have reported similar improvements using human medical protocols. A voice boomed from the hegemony section. Anomalies and coincidences, declared Chancellor Mordak, a massive crustacean-like being with multiple eye stalks. These isolated successes prove nothing about the superiority of primitive human medicine. Sarah felt a flash of irritation, but kept her expression neutral. She'd expected resistance from the more conservative council members. Perhaps, the speaker said diplomatically, Dr. Chun could explain her methods to the council. Sarah stood and walked to the central platform, her prosthetic leg clicking softly against the polished floor. The sound that had once embarrassed her now seemed like a statement of defiance. Honorable council members, she began, I'd like to start by addressing Chancellor Mordak's characterization of human medicine as primitive. He's not wrong. By galactic standards, our technology is indeed primitive. But that's exactly why it works. This statement caused a stir throughout the chamber. Several delegates leaned forward in their seats. When you have perfect regeneration technology, you think in terms of replacement, Sarah continued. When you have bioelectric systems that self-repair, you focus on restoration. But humans have never had those luxuries. We've had to learn to work with what we have, and more importantly, to make it better than it was before. She activated the holographic display, showing a comparison between conventional galactic medical approaches and human methods. Traditional galactic medicine asks, how do we return the patient to their original state? Human medicine asks, how do we help the patient exceed their original capabilities? Chancellor Mordak's eye stalks swiveled toward her. You claim to make patients superior to their natural state? That is medical enhancement, not healing. The distinction is artificial, Sarah replied. When Commander Vexthal's claw was damaged, conventional treatment focused on regenerating identical tissue. My approach focused on understanding why the regeneration failed and how to make it succeed better than before. She pulled up the scan data from Vexthal's treatment. The cellular scaffolding I used wasn't just a template for regeneration. It incorporated improvements, better neural integration, enhanced structural integrity, improved sensory feedback. His new claw isn't just as good as the old one. It's demonstrably better. But that raises ethical questions, interjected Dr. Sythra, the Zephyrian medical ethicist. If we enhance patients beyond their natural capabilities, are we still practicing medicine, or are we performing biological modification? Sarah had anticipated this question. Dr. Sythra, may I ask you about your own medical history? The Zephyrian looked surprised. I failed to see the relevance. Please indulge me. Have you ever had your natural biorhythms regulated with pharmaceutical intervention? Yes, of course. Standard treatment for shift work adaptation. And that pharmaceutical intervention altered your natural sleep cycles to something that wouldn't occur in nature, correct? Well, yes. By your own definition, you've been biologically modified. Every time any of us receives medical treatment that changes our natural state, we're being enhanced beyond what nature provided. Sarah gestured to the assembled council. The real question isn't whether we should enhance patients. We already do that with every treatment. The question is whether we should enhance them thoughtfully and strategically, or just hope that returning them to their original state is good enough. Ambassador Sythra stood in the Zephyrian section. Dr. Chun, your methods have shown remarkable results, but can they be replicated? Are these successes limited to your personal expertise, or can other medical professionals learn these techniques? That's an excellent question, Sarah replied. With your permission, I'd like to invite someone else to address that. She nodded toward the human section, and a figure Sarah hadn't expected to see stood up. Dr. Marcus Webb, her former mentor from Earth, walked to the platform with a slight limp from his own prosthetic hip. Council members, Dr. Webb said, "I am Dr. Marcus Webb, Director of Human Medical Corps. 3 days ago, I arrived aboard this vessel to observe Dr. Chen's work and determine whether her methods could be taught to others." Sarah felt a moment of panic. She hadn't known her former teacher was aboard, much less evaluating her work. "I have spent the past 3 days working with Dr. Chen to treat 7 additional patients using her protocols," Dr. Webb continued. "The results have been consistent and reproducible. More importantly, the underlying principles are teachable." He activated a new set of holographic displays. Human medical philosophy is based on 3 core concepts that can be applied regardless of species or technology level. First, understand the patient's natural systems completely before attempting to modify them. Second, work with those natural systems rather than overriding them. Third, always ask not just how do we fix this, but how do we make this better? Chancellor Mordak's voice rumbled through the chamber. "You speak of philosophy, but medicine is about proven science. We're your peer-reviewed studies, your long-term outcome data." Dr. Webb smiled. "Chancellor, human medicine has been testing these approaches for thousands of years. Every prosthetic limb is a long-term study in enhancement over replacement. Every cardiac pacemaker is data on improving natural function rather than just restoring it. Our entire medical tradition is built on the idea that healing and enhancement are not separate goals. But you're asking us to fundamentally change our approach to medicine," Dr. Sythr said, "to abandon proven methods in favor of experimental human techniques." Sarah stepped forward. "No, we're asking you to expand your toolkit. Keep everything that works well for your species, but consider adding approaches that might work even better." She pulled up a new display showing side-by-side comparisons of treatment outcomes. Commander Vexthal's case isn't unique anymore. In the past week, we've treated a crystalline engineer whose mineral structure was failing, not just repaired it, but enhanced it with improved light conductivity. A NYTH pilot with nerve damage, not just healed, but given enhanced reflexes. A Zephyrian diplomat with biorhythm disorders, not just regulated, but optimized for peak cognitive performance. Each treatment built on existing galactic medical knowledge, Dr. Webb added. "We didn't replace your techniques. We enhanced them with human perspective and innovation." The chamber fell silent as the assembled delegates absorbed this information. Sarah could see minds working, resistance battling with curiosity across dozens of species. Finally, Commander Vexthal stood in the Kethtar section. "Council members, I have served as a warrior for 30 years. I've been injured many times and treated by the best medical technology our civilization offers. Never have I experienced treatment that left me stronger than before my injury." He raised his regenerated claw, flexing it slowly. "This claw has better sensation than my original. It is stronger, more precise, more durable. Dr. Chun did not just heal me, she improved me. If human medicine can do this for one Kethtar warrior, imagine what it could do for our entire dominion." Dr. Piptel stood next. "The neural interface DR Chun designed for me has eliminated my chronic pain while enhancing my cognitive abilities by 37%. I can process medical data faster and more accurately than ever before. This is not just treatment, it is evolution." One by one, other patients Sarah had treated over the past week stood to share their experiences. Each story followed the same pattern. Not just healing, but improvement beyond original capabilities. Chancellor Mordak's eye stalks swiveled thoughtfully. These testimonials are compelling, but they raise serious questions about the implications of enhancement-based medicine. What are the limits? What are the risks? What happens to natural evolution if we can simply engineer improvements? Sarah took a deep breath. This was the moment she'd been preparing for since arriving at the council. "Chancellor, those are exactly the right questions to ask. And they're questions that human medicine has been grappling with for centuries. We don't have all the answers, but we have experience balancing enhancement with ethics, improvement with safety, innovation with responsibility." She paused, looking around the chamber at the assembled representatives of galactic civilization. What I'm proposing isn't that you adopt human medicine wholesale. I'm proposing that we work together, human innovation combined with galactic knowledge and wisdom, to develop medical approaches that make all of us better than we were before. The chamber erupted in discussion as delegates turned to confer with their colleagues. Sarah returned to her seat, heart pounding, knowing that the next few minutes would determine not just her own future, but possibly the future of medicine throughout the galaxy. Dr. Webb placed a hand on her shoulder. Well done, Sarah. Whatever happens next, you've given them something to think about. As the debates raged around them, Sarah caught sight of her own reflection in the polished surface of a nearby console. The woman looking back at her was confident, professional, and standing firmly on two legs, one biological, one artificial, both strong. She had come to the stars carrying humanity's gift of turning weakness into strength, limitation into opportunity. Now it remained to be seen whether the galaxy was ready to accept that gift. 6 months after the historic Galactic Medical Council session, Sarah stood in the observation deck of humanity's newest contribution to the galactic community. The innovation, a medical research vessel unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Through the transparent aluminum viewport, she watched as ships from dozens of species approached the station for what had become known as human hybrid medical treatments. The transformation had been remarkable. What began as skepticism toward human medical methods had evolved into the largest collaborative medical research program in galactic history. The innovations served as both treatment center and teaching hospital, where medical professionals from across the galaxy came to learn and develop new approaches that combine species-specific knowledge with human innovation philosophy. Dr. Chun, you have visitors, announced Arya, the station's AI system that had been designed with human adaptability principles. It learned and improved from every interaction rather than simply following program responses. Sarah turned from the viewport as Commander Vexthul entered the observation deck, accompanied by an entourage she'd never expected to see. The Kethtar warrior was flanked by High Command Admiral Esikithar, Chancellor Mordak of the Hegemony, and, most surprisingly, Dr. Swidhra and several other council members who had initially opposed human medical integration. Commander, Sarah greeted him warmly. This is an impressive delegation. What brings you all to the innovation? Vexthul's regenerated claw caught the light as he gestured toward his companions. Dr. Chun, we come bearing news from the Galactic Medical Council. The integration protocols you developed have been approved for galaxy-wide implementation. Sarah felt her breath catch. Galaxy-wide, Admiral Esikithar stepped forward, her scarred hide bearing the marks of decades of combat. Dr. Chun, the results speak for themselves. 17 species have reported improved treatment outcomes using human hybrid protocols. Medical recovery times have decreased by an average of 63% across all measure categories. More significantly, patient satisfaction has reached unprecedented levels as beings discover capabilities they never knew they possessed. Chancellor Mordak, who had been Sarah's most vocal opponent during that first council session, approached with what might have been sheepishness in his multiple eyes. Dr. Chun, I owe you a considerable apology. My resistance to your methods was short-sighted. No apology necessary, Chancellor. Skepticism is healthy in medicine. It ensures we don't adopt dangerous practices without proper testing. Nevertheless, the Chancellor continued, I have witnessed the results firsthand. My own nephew received treatment here last month for spinal damage that our specialist said would leave him permanently impaired. Not only is he fully healed, but his enhanced nervous system now allows him reaction times that exceed even our military training standards. Dr. Swidhra stepped forward, her elegant features composed. Dr. Chun, the Council has voted unanimously to establish human medical integration centers in every major system. But more than that, we want to understand the underlying philosophy that makes these approaches possible. Sarah gestured for them to join her at the viewport, where they could see the bustling activity around the station. The philosophy is actually quite simple, Dr. Swidhra. We assume that every challenge is an opportunity to become better than we were before. She pointed to a small ship docking with the station. That vessel is bringing a crystalline researcher whose mineral structure was damaged in an industrial accident. Traditional treatment would restore her original crystalline matrix. Our approach will analyze why the damage occurred, strengthen the weak points, and potentially give her enhanced light processing capabilities that could revolutionize collective technology. And there, she indicated another approaching ship, is an NYTH exploration team. One of their members developed neurological issues from prolonged space travel. Instead of just treating the symptoms, we're designing neural enhancements that will allow extended space missions without any degradation in cognitive function. Admiral Sekar nodded approvingly. Each treatment becomes an advancement for the entire species. Exactly. But the real breakthrough isn't in the technology, it's in the mindset. We've learned to see medical intervention as an opportunity for evolution rather than just restoration. Commander Vexthal flexed his enhanced claw thoughtfully. Dr. Chun, there's something else. The Council has approved a new medical research initiative. They want you to lead it. Sarah turned from the viewport. Lead what kind of initiative? Project Synthesis, Dr. Sydhr explained. A comprehensive program to develop enhancement-based medicine for every known galactic species. The goal is to create medical protocols that don't just heal, but actively improve each species' natural capabilities. Sarah felt a moment of dizziness as the scope of what they were proposing hit her. You want me to revolutionize medicine for the entire galaxy? You've already begun the revolution, Chancellor Mordak rumbled. We simply want to see it completed. The position comes with considerable authority, Admiral Sekar added. You would have access to medical databases from every council species, unlimited research funding, and the authority to implement new protocols without waiting for lengthy approval processes. Sarah walked back to the viewport, looking out at the ships arriving for treatment. Each one represented beings who had come seeking not just healing, but the chance to become better than they were. 6 months ago, she'd been an unknown human doctor fighting for respect. Now, they were offering her the chance to reshape galactic medicine entirely. There's something I need to tell you all, Sarah said finally. The principles we've developed here, they're not uniquely human inventions. Every species in the galaxy has the capacity for this kind of thinking. Humans just had more practice because we had no choice. She turned back to face them. If I accept this position, I want it understood that the goal isn't to impose human methods on everyone else. It's to help each species discover their own capacity for transforming limitation into strength. Elaborate, Dr. Take the Kethtar, Sarah said, nodding toward Vexthal. Your species values strength and honor above all else. Traditional medicine focused on restoring you to original condition. But what if medical treatment could make you stronger than you were before injury? What if every wound became an opportunity to exceed your previous limitations? Admiral Sekhar's eyes gleamed with interest. Our warriors would see injury as a path to enhancement rather than a mark of failure. Exactly. And for the crystalline collective, whose strength lies in their connection to light and energy, medical treatment could enhance those connections, allowing new forms of communication and data processing. And for the NYTH, Dr. Piptel added from the entryway where she'd quietly arrived, whose bioelectric capabilities define our existence. Treatment could expand those capabilities beyond their natural limits. Sarah smiled at her former patient, who had become one of the innovation's most valuable researchers. Dr. Piptel, your neural enhancement has led to 3 major breakthroughs in bioelectric medicine just this month. Because you showed me that my condition was actually a gift waiting to be unwrapped, Piptel replied. You taught me to see my excess neural capacity as potential rather than pathology. Chancellor Mordak shifted his bulk thoughtfully. Dr. Chun, if you accept this position, how would you begin such a comprehensive undertaking? Sarah had been thinking about this question for months, ever since the first successful treatments had proven that human hybrid medicine could work across species lines. We start by identifying what makes each species unique, she said, not just biologically, but philosophically. What do Kethtar value? What do Zephyrians aspire to? We're a crystalline dreams made of. Then, we develop medical approaches that don't just heal, but help each species become more of what they already are at their best. She paused, looking at each of them in turn. But I have one condition. Name it. Admiral Essikith said immediately. This project has to be truly collaborative. I won't be the human who fixes everyone else's medicine. I want to be part of a team that helps every species unlock their own potential for medical innovation. Dr. Syehra smiled. Dr. Chun, I believe that's exactly what we were hoping you would say. As the delegation prepared to leave, Commander Vexthal lingered behind. Dr. Chun, there's one thing I must tell you. Yes, Commander. That first day, when I mocked your prosthetic limb and called you a broken creature, I was wrong about more than just human medicine. Sarah waited for him to continue. You were not broken at all. You were evolved. Your species learned to turn weakness into strength so thoroughly that you no longer see the difference between limitation and opportunity. That is why human medicine succeeds. Not because your technology is superior, but because your perspective is revolutionary. After they left, Sarah remained at the viewport for a long time, watching the steady stream of ships approaching the innovation. Each vessel carried beings who had come seeking transformation, the chance to become more than they were. She thought about the mining accident that had cost her a leg 3 years ago. At the time, it had felt like the end of her dreams, a limitation that would forever define her as less than whole. Instead, it had led her to innovations that were now reshaping medicine across the galaxy. Her reflection in the viewport showed a woman standing confidently on 2 legs, one biological, one artificial, both strong. The distinction no longer mattered. What mattered was that she was whole, complete, and ready to help an entire galaxy discover that their limitations were just opportunities waiting to be unlocked. Sarah touched the control panel, opening a communication channel to Earth. Dr. Webb, this is Sarah. I'm accepting the Council's offer. Project Synthesis is a go. Outstanding news, Sarah. What's your first priority? Sarah smiled, looking out at the ships full of beings seeking transformation. We're going to teach the galaxy what humans learned long ago, that the moment you stop, try to get back to where you were, and start focusing on where you could go, that's when real healing begins. In the distance, a new ship was approaching the station. Sarah couldn't tell what species it carried, but she knew they were coming for the same reason everyone else did, the chance to discover that their challenges were actually their greatest assets, waiting to be properly understood and developed. The human gift to the galaxy wasn't superior technology or advanced medicine. It was a simple but revolutionary idea. Every limitation is an invitation to evolve, and evolution, properly guided, always leads to something better than what came before. The galaxy was finally ready to evolve.